Live. All right, cool. All right, how's everybody doing?
Excellent.
Awesome. A lot of energy coming out tonight, huh?
Well, I'm telling you.
Let's take it down a notch, everyone. Cool. There we go. We got Gabe dancing. So special guest, we're going to have Mr. Gabriel Ryan on here. He's got some habit strategies that he's going to share. I was like, Gabe said this is the most valuable thing that he could share. So it's all downhill after tonight for him because we're getting the best of the best.
I'm giving it to you and then I'm out. All right. Peace.
Okay, cool. And then we're going to have a little contest here tonight that starts today. You guys are going to be competing against multiple groups, but it's going to be a cash giveaway. So I'm excited to bring that to you. We're going to do 3 winners. So if you're in multiple groups, you can only win once. Okay. So you can't be like first and third. I know where you're going there, Spencer. All right, cool. So let us start off with some wins. Who has some wins? Who has something cool that's happened in the last week? What do you got, Spencer?
Dude, the power of that landscaper group that I told you I got into with just speaking as a GMB, quote unquote expert. And I've only been in that group once, talked to about 12 guys, but that one landscaper that we landed, we haven't even produced anything. We just have been better than his old company that they worked with for a while. And he's referring people. I just got off the call with a landscaper in Baton Rouge that was with the same marketing company that drags these people on for 14 months and promising results and taking their money and not doing anything with it. And this guy's ready to pay me after I get done with this audit. And it's just this snowball effect, you guys. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with the mental state of things, right? I honestly now feel like with Patric and some of these other sources that I have surrounding me, that I'm really honestly willing, I'm able to conquer the world now. Like I went from being able to crawl as a GMB SEO website guy, rank and rank guy, to now I feel like I'm actually running with the pack of experts. And being able to really just say, you know what, like almost sell something, knowing that I have a Patric Shannon in my back pocket, right? And know that he's able to, this guy's got 11 reviews as a company, and they did 1.4 million, and he wants to be up there. He's ranking number 17 for landscaping in Baton Rouge. And
don't you get this like lick your lips kind of mentality when you start seeing this? We're like,
dude, I'm over here going like this.
I'm gonna blow this thing up.
Oh man, and honestly, like the expectations from what they're coming from is so low that even if I put forth 20% of what I know, like I'd blow these other companies out of the water.
Yeah. It's such a double-edged sword. This is something I realized early in my journey, is that what we do is it's like these people come and it can be harder to close them because they've been burned, like the companies that like Spencer's talking about. But when they actually get a taste of someone who knows what they're doing, then it's like the appreciation after like dealing with garbage companies for a long time is so much higher, right? They love you forever because they know what it's like to have a company that's not doing anything.
Yeah. So, a lot of it, I think, is education too. I feel like I'm able to educate people and not, I think a lot of lead gen people or SEO companies or whatever, they hide behind this curtain of like not sharing because they're afraid of somebody's, like this landscaper is going to take their knowledge and run with it, right? If that was the case, they would have already done this. And so, I really want to educate him enough to where he knows really what's happening, and that he knows that we're actually making his phone ring more, and just having the tools like like lead generated / LeadSnap to be able to show him data when we do start working with him is going to be huge, because currently right now his current marketing company is saying, oh, well, we're bringing stuff to you from from the next door app, and we're bringing stuff from this, and oh, you don't see it? And he's like, my phone doesn't ring anymore. I stepped our program up to their second tier SEO, and I'm still not seeing anymore, but I have more going out. And it just seems like a lot of companies, they hide their flaws behind, oh, well, Patrick, it's because you're not paying for our premium SEO package. That's why you're not seeing results. And it's just this garbage to where I just want to bring results to this guy so that I told him a lifetime client. And it's my job to make you make more money, because I know the more money I make you, the more money you're paying me.
Right. I'll just tell you what I'm noticing from the outside after kind of, Spencer, when did we meet? It's probably been like 6 months.
Yeah, like 6 months, not that long ago. Justin introduced us.
Yeah. So the kind of level of certainty that you speak with shows through on this call. And I can remember back to when we were first getting started, where you're just kind of like trying to find your way on this. And it's just like, there's so much more confidence. And I've tried to express this to people. It's like that confidence, when you kind of know what you can do, like it's very obvious to someone that's being sold, right? Where you are like, when Jeff and I get on a conversation, we're not hypothesizing on what could happen. We're like, this is what's going to happen. I can't tell you when, but we're going to absolutely take over this market. And I've had so many people that we've closed that have said, like, just the level of certainty in your voice and in what you guys are saying, like, it made me feel like it was just a matter of time before, like, we were going to take over this whole market. So I know firsthand, and that shift is like, it's not based on, like, it's all in your head, right? It's not based on them going through and dive, like, the people they never even ask us to show them any kind of proof. They just know, right? So you guys can adopt this a lot earlier. It's really a mental switch. And what I found is I had to do so much work before I was able to get that switch. And it sounds like, Spencer, maybe you just hit that. The rest of you guys, if you can anticipate this and you can know how much of a difference it makes when you're trying to sell, if you 100% believe in it, and something like, it's hard when you're starting out on day one and you're just like seeing the results of the other people in the group. So just like adopt that. But there's a whole group of people that kind of have your back on this, and that we've been through some of this stuff. So if you believe in us, we can guide you through the way. We have the opportunity to do spotlights on this call and give you some, like, maybe it's not one-on-one coaching, but you can jump on the call for 10 or 15 minutes, ask some questions, and get pointed in a direction from someone who's been through this pathway. So I want to just say, Spencer, I'm really happy to see this kind of mental shift that you've made. I know that you've been putting it, I know you took some time off to work on your house, but I bet during that time you were still kind of like processing and thinking about things. And aside from that, it seems like you've been just locked into this the whole time I've known you, where this has kind of been your main focus, you know? So
yeah,
congrats, man.
And honestly, it's for me is, I have no other choice but to win. And I've told myself that, right? Like, at the end of the day, I'm going to win. And it doesn't matter what hoops I have to jump through, I'm going to win. And if there's those days, it's for me, it's celebrating those small wins. And I know a lot of us, when you look back at things, no matter what's going on in your life, if you're not celebrating those small wins, because sometimes it's like, oh man, I didn't make any money today. Well, are you better today than you were yesterday? And for me, it's constantly like, somewhat of using Patric's sheets to organize my life, because the one thing with what we do with Rank and Rent is there's always something. It's funny. My kids are always like, Dad, did you finish all your work today? And I just laugh, right? Because as I see Gabe's over there laughing too, right? Like, there's nothing ever going to be finished with this business, which I love. And I know Jeff and I have spoke about this. Like, I love that every day it's never going to get boring and there's always something to do, but that is also a double-edged sword where if you're not organized, it can be very, very overwhelming. And you're going to get, what do they say? They say, an analyst or paralysis by an analyst or whatever.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like, for me, it's about taking action, and I see other people that are in this, and some other groups that are friends of mine that will sit there and they'll think on something, they'll think on things, they'll think on it, And the time that they're thinking on it, man, I'm down the road. I've already purchased whatever the tool is, and I'm kicking ass. And that may be a flaw, but honestly, I look at it like that. For my characteristics, that's not a flaw, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's I'm always taking that leap of faith.
Yeah,
And
it's 100%. It's not a flaw, man. You know, there's that famous saying, don't let perfection be the enemy of good. And like, let's say I'm not like a personal trainer, or I don't know what to do exactly when I go to the gym. So I can go to the gym and I decide that I jog. And then like, I'm getting in better shape every day because I'm jogging. But then I find out like a month later, you know, I would be a lot better if I had been using like the elliptical instead of jogging, because that's going to get the upper body. It's like, I'm still so much further ahead. And when you sit there and you try to like, you're not, no matter what you do, it's not going to be perfect. Like no matter how much you study this, you're going to mess up, especially if it's your first time. So you got to jump in and get in the pool, man. And yeah, I see that. I think there's like two biggest problems I see in this industry. And now that I've dove into this, I'm starting to see it in all these other parts of life. There's like, one is people start with something and then they go to the next thing, and then they go to the next thing and the next thing. And they're never like making progress on anything. There's a really good book I read called The Millionaire Fast Lane, where they talk about the slow lane, or I'm sorry, the sidewalk, the slow lane, and the fast lane. The sidewalk is these people that just bounce around from like one endeavor to the next place and they never get there. The slow lane, it's all about like how fast you're going to get to wealth. The people on the sidewalk, you're never going to sidewalk your way to wealth. People in the slow lane, that's the 9-to-5ers. A lot of the people on this call or watching this video, you guys are trying to escape that slow lane and move over into the fast lane, where you're like, the idea is like, save your money, save like 10% of your money, put it in like stocks, and hopefully the stock market doesn't crash and you're going to like build up equity in your house and all this stuff. And then when you're 75 years old, like you're going to be rich, but you're maybe like, you're too tired and sore to be able to enjoy things. And then there's the fast lane where you're going to do things of scale and of magnitude. And that's what this business model is about, is to be able to scale, doing a bunch of these things over and over again. So that's the first thing, is that bouncing around and being a sidewalk person. I see that nonstop. We're going to start off with like rank and rent, and then we're going to do SEO, but now we're doing Facebook ads and YouTube ads and all this other, like, just like, we've got a proven business model. If you believe in this, like, do the hard thing and block out this other stuff, right? Like LeBron James and Michael Jordan are not LeBron James and Michael Jordan because they're like, hey, I'm going to go learn this shot where I can shoot it from behind the backboard. They're shooting that same jump shot, the non-sexy shit every day, every single day. And then when it's time to shoot the jump shot in the game, they've got it mastered, right? So that's the first mistake. The second thing is exactly what Spencer said there with their analysis paralysis. This analytical people are drawn to this business model. And it's like, you guys need to analyze the situation and say, hey, there's less successful people than you making more money than you, because they've decided to do something that you're more qualified to do, but they've just taken action on it, right? So you don't need to like study everything. You got to get going, right? You're going to be late for the game if you never get in the car and start driving. So Spencer, congrats, man. I'm really happy to see this. I want to make sure we get the wins in there, because we got some other stuff to talk about. Neil, you got to win. Devin, Laurent, Harry. Neil, you never know when you're muted, which is, you know, I mean, it's almost worth it, because you do it I like it. I enjoy that part of you.
Well, real quick, I got 3 GMBs live through clients. I'm having all my clients get me addresses for GMBs.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
I'm doing the Patric antenna. Got another two clients called that I'm not really getting any leads for yet, but they're like, man, we love these. We want to pay you, get us more leads. So I partnered up with someone else. Hey, take this, get these people leads. I'll give you X amount, right? And then I had to turn 2 clients down today that I went in to get my scratch ticket. I call it Larry Bird because it's number 33. And everybody said, what's a Larry Bird? Everybody in line. And there was an electrician and a plumber, and we got talking, and I told them what I did. And I said, but I don't do electricians and plumbers, because they were interested. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Well, that's cool. Super cool. What else do we got for wins? Who else? Nobody?
I got one on my
Bryan,
side.
Brian's got one. I'm sorry. We'll go to Bryan first and we'll come back to you, Devin. Bryan, what's up?
What's going on, man? I just closed an SEO client like, I don't know, 30 minutes ago for something in Los Angeles, which is, it's going to be a pretty big undertaking, but I think what you just touched on with just getting in and doing it and not
Yeah.
over analyzing, I think that's what I needed to hear. So thank you for that.
Yeah, Bryan, let
Um,
me give you two quick pieces of advice because I can see what you're up against by how you phrase that. Sounds like you're going into a big market that's maybe a tougher niche, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what you do. First is like, let's use plumbing LA as an example. Let's pretend that you're going into plumbing. So what I wouldn't do is just build this like one site plumbing LA. I'm going to build a hot water heater site, maybe like a drain cleaning site. I'm going to divide the niche into several pieces and I'm going to divide the sites. I'm going to break apart LA, right? So instead of going after LA, I'm going to go after like Pasadena, Glendale. And it's almost like I'm going after 7 cities instead of 1. And that hyper relevance will give you the benefit above some of these other people that are just like, if you try to target plumbing as a whole, you're competing against all the plumbing companies. But if you were to like get more clear on just like hot water heaters for Pasadena, and now someone searches for a hot water heater in Pasadena, you're more relevant to that search than the plumber who's covering all of LA. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Do you see how you could potentially extrapolate that into your own, like whatever you're up against with your own niche?
Yes and no. It's a little bit of a weird niche. And I can talk with you a little bit more outside of the call, but I think it's more of a, it's just a strange niche, man.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I'll
follow up
get
with
with you
me after the call, man. And
I will.
let's see if we can strategize on how to get you on the right foot. But
Okay.
congrats on that, brother. That's awesome. I know that like 30 minutes after feeling is all yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It looks like Amy Singleton posted, had my junk removal client reach out. Their main biz is window cleaning for a pre-built window cleaning lead gen. I actually explained it's better to have 2 of the top positions versus only 1 for their niche. My first pre-sold. Congrats, Amy. I know you've been tuning in for a long time. I love seeing you make some progress there. Who else? Devin, I think you had a win, right?
Laurent was
Oh,
asking.
Laurent.
So I'm happy to know that now I have an American accent.
Yeah, we can't even tell it's you.
So yeah, I have a win to share. I'm having one of my customers, lead gen customer, who in fact I just closed a web redesign deal with her, and it's someone that I know. It's a friend of mine basically, and I wanted to give her a friendly price. So I did remove something like 25% of the website redesign. And she was like, heck no, I'm not going to do that. And she paid me, in fact, the full price of what I would be billing someone else. So it does go maybe of, I don't really know enough my worth here, that I'm being cheap. And I'm happy that a friend told me that so that I'm able to realign that with other customers.
Yeah, just can you give us like a 30-second for everyone, 30-second overview of like what's, if you don't mind sharing the price, you don't have to. What's the price that you're asking for and what does that include?
So sure. So basically 8 pages plus a blog capability website, okay, that I'm selling her. And the way that I did price it, so it's a bilingual website, first of all. And so each page, just one language, I would price it at $350 the page, plus 100 for the second language. So plus the capability for the blog, which was something like $400. And I'm not taking round numbers, so it was a little bit below. It was 399 point something. And it stacked up to nearly 4,000. So ultimately, I sold it to 3,700.
That's good. Yeah, I'm glad that you're at least in that range. I was hoping you were going to say like $400 or something because I've heard people selling this. So yeah, I mean, you guys, it might seem that you guys like, hey, we learned this skill set here pretty quickly on how to build sites, and maybe we know like we're getting it for cheaper and all this stuff. that's okay. Like, I think there's a little bit of guilt that people have when they first start selling things, where you're discounting your expertise on stuff, right? And you're saying like, well, it only cost me this much. It doesn't cost you however much it costs you to build it. It costs you that plus however much time you have, right? So how much time do you have invested in learning the skill set? Do they know how to do it? Like, your value is not what it costs you. Your value is what's the value you're actually delivering, and being able to build a site like this and boost somebody's business up, that's huge, right? And I know some of us, we don't have the reps, we're maybe not as confident that that's going to be the result. But like Spencer said, there's really only one thing there's only one outcome if you stick with it. It's going to work, right? It's just, we don't know when, right? And if you kind of approach things with this attitude, sometimes it's good. Jeff and I talked about this, is like, it's good to write things down. Like, if you're like, hey, I'm only like 85% sure about who I am with this, try writing it down 1,000 times and like load your subconscious in there and like tell yourself, when you look in the mirror, this is who I am. Like, let's play the hack game on our own brains, and let's be smart enough to get this in here, because Spencer, when you don't know your self-worth, there's a difference between you and Spencer here. Now Spencer's like started to believe, and he's starting to see the results from it. And when you start to like talk with the certainty, and it's not that you have a different skill set, right? Like I wouldn't know who, if I was going to pick like, hey, which one's going to have a better result between what I know about Spencer and Laurent. I don't know, but I feel like Spencer's more confident, so he's going to win the sale more often. And the only difference is that mindset. So I would encourage you, like, let's catch up and like start hacking your own brain. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Like, you are so far ahead of like so many of these, like the other companies that Spencer was talking about. Like, we're not doing that. You're in there studying Williams stuff, trying to level up. You're so far ahead of the game. You just got to believe in it a little bit. And I think these sales will really start to stack up for you. I know that in the past you said, hey, I'm not super confident with sales, but like, this is part of that equation right here. And addressing this, I think, is important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm working on it, especially on the sales side. For example, I'm reading
There
this
you go.
book right now.
Yeah.
But it's not the
Don't
only
defraud
one.
people,
So...
though. I don't know if that's in that book.
Sorry?
I said, don't defraud people. I don't know if that's a chapter in that book. But...
Yeah, he learned from it, definitely.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, congrats on the closing the website deal, man. That's exciting. I'll share a couple small wins myself. So, yeah, we built out our lead gen business, and it was great that we got that to a spot where it runs really well without a ton of my interaction. And then we built the software product, right, that most of you guys are using, and the response has been great. But what I don't know is I don't know how to market this. And I've got a lot of ideas, right? I've got a lot of strategies with like different Facebook groups, affiliates, all kinds of stuff. But it's important when you have a weakness to make sure that you address that. And what I did over the last week is I went up and I signed out for, there's this guy named Dan Martell, and he teaches SaaS companies, so software as a service, subscription-based software. He teaches them how to grow and build into this big company, gives you all kinds of framework. There's a lot of money for us, and I'm already in one coaching program, but we jumped in, and I'm excited to like be able to learn the skill set to provide you guys with better service from the software side of things. And then this morning I had a meeting with these like really impressive girls. They're from Canada. They live in Seattle now. One of them was a engineer for Microsoft for like 8 years, and they're huge on like testing, split testing, everything. And I did like an 1.5-hour meeting with these two girls, and they put me into their program and potentially invited me to be a coach, because they don't have they have a learning program, and they want me to potentially be a coach within their mastermind for like SEO, especially towards local stuff. But what I think is really awesome is they're going to teach these like split testing methods, and I'm going to learn those. And my goal is to bring this back and help you guys with this stuff, because I believe a lot of us learned from like a technician standpoint on how to do this work, right? We learned maybe how to build a chair, and all of a sudden when we go out on our own as chair builders, then like there's all these other things we have to do, and we don't know how to do them, right? Maybe this isn't the chair somebody wants, or maybe there's a better chair. So like with, here's what I'm thinking is we've got, I don't know how many sites we have. Jeff, maybe you know how, maybe we got 300 or 400 sites
Something like
in
that.
our portfolio.
Yeah, something like that.
Last time I said 200 and I got in trouble. So we got,
Yeah, I think it's way beyond 200, but I
okay,
don't know if it's 400.
somewhere between 200 and 400 sites. We've got tons of them, right? So what if we're making a small mistake in conversion, right? And what if we improve that? Because like the way they do it is they run Facebook ads, okay? And they don't run Facebook ads for the reason that everyone else runs Facebook ads. They run Facebook ads to create a sterile, controllable testing environment that they can test their message again and again. So a lot of times what people do is they're going to test things for like 2 weeks, but they're doing it in a way where you're testing things and you get results in hours or days. So they have these like a bunch of little micro tests and they're getting really good results. So let's pretend that I'm going into, what was it? Spencer's doing landscaping and I've got like 350 landscaping sites across the country and they're all pretty similar. And then I decide I'm going to run a landscaping ad on Facebook and I'm going to run like 20 different versions of it. And I'm going to get information on the exact messaging and landing page, which one's converting the best, which one's converting the best with this image or this text and all these different things. And I get this like optimized, perfect landing page. And I've spent, I think she said somewhere between like $600 and $2,000. So in our agency, a lot of times we're bringing in between 10 and 15,000 leads a month. If I increase my conversion on these, then we would be like, let's say I increase my conversion rate by like 50%. So instead of like 10 to 15,000, now I'm getting like 15 to 22,000 and I have no more traffic coming to my site. It's all just because I improved my, like, what would that do for my agency? All of a sudden, like overnight, it's almost like I have 50% more value. So regardless of where we are, this stuff is important and split testing is huge. I gave Spencer a book to read and it was about this exact topic. And then it was like, so it was John Caples. Do you remember? I can't, I don't have it handy. It's an expensive book for book standards these days. I think it's like $100. Spencer, do you have the name of that book handy?
It hasn't. I don't have it handy. Hold on. Let me go
I know
back
it's
to
sitting over here on my table.
our chat history because I don't remember what
We'll get that. We'll get that for you guys. But it's all about measuring stuff. And I think this is when we start out as this chair builder and we don't understand all these different parts of the business, it's easy to overlook some of this stuff. And I'll tell you from being around and being in these higher level masterminds, these people just know this stuff cold and they're all doing it. And then like I'm in these other groups where nobody's doing this stuff. And it just seems like there's an obvious blind spot for the way that we've been taught. And I want to try to shine some light on that spot and let's fix that so that we can kind of move forward as a group with this new skill set. And, this split testing stuff is not something that should be limited to your pages, right? It should be limited. Like I was telling Spencer, I gave him a prospecting strategy. He rolled it out into a Facebook group. It wasn't lights out right away, but I'm like, you need to test this and you need to find a champion and then you challenge that. And maybe you have a new champion and it stays a champion until you find a better one and you just keep on leveling up, right? So really important stuff to do there. Tested.
Patric, the name of the
Tested
book
Advertising Method by John Caples. Yeah.
Correct.
Thanks, Harry.
Thanks,
That's
Harry.
the one. All right, cool. So you guys have seen, we have Mr. Gabe on here. We're going to give him the spotlight in just a minute. One of the things I want to do before we do that, I like to get Gabe wound up and then take it back from him. So one of the things I want to do before we do that is we're going to have a contest. We had a contest. There he is. Look at him. Look at him getting wound up. How can you not love that guy? All right. So we have a contest last November. We're going to have one this November. So contest starts like with this call. It's going to be a heat map contest. Okay. So here's the deal. For anybody that has an account, you guys can have unlimited heat maps for November if you're in this contest. Okay. Run as many as you want. So what we're going to do, there's going to be a cash prize. I think we're going to do the top 3 spots. So I think this is not, I repeat, this is not guaranteed of how this is going to play out, but I'm going to give away $1,000. Okay. So I think we're going to go 500, 300, 200 first, second, third. Okay. So that's the plan. All right. So how's this going to work? This is going to be based on you guys sharing the heat map in groups and other things like this. So you'll see, I think we still have it in here. Yeah. So if you post a heat map on your personal page, and I don't just want you to post a heat map on there. The point is I want to convince you guys to do the things that are going to move your business forward. Okay. So post it on your personal page, you're going to get 1 point. You need to type stuff about what this looks like. Like why are you, don't just put this out there and like think you're getting a point. Like, why is this important? What is this? Use this as a tool. This is supposed to be a tool to help you land business. So keep that in mind when you make these posts. All right, you share this into a group, we're going to give you 5 points. Okay. And if there is a screencast video attached to it, it's going to be a 3 times multiplier. Okay. So you're sharing it into a group, instead of 5 points, you get 15 points, right? If you include a video on your personal page, then instead of 1 point, you get 3 points. Okay. So we have a Google form. I'm going to include it in the description of this video, and you fill that out. And then we're going to have a leaderboard where all this stuff is tracked. Okay. So contest is going to end Central Time, midnight, December 30th. Okay. Or I'm sorry, November 30th, November 30th. So you've got 26 days, 4 hours and 57 minutes. So that is what's happening. I will share the screenshots. I want you guys, each week I'm in here trying to get you guys to move the needle forward for your business. And I'm hoping that this contest can help you. Last year, when we did this contest, I can't remember what the first place person closed in business, but the second place person closed almost $15,000 in business in 30 days. Okay. It was, Jeff, what's the guy's name who's running the Adam McChesney? That's who it was. Adam McChesney closed $15,000 in business in 30 days. So I'll tell you right now, whoever wins this contest, the way I'm trying to develop this is like the $500 is going to be like peanuts next to what you close if you go and do the efforts that are in this and you get consistent with it. So we're going to have you submit your information. So that's what the Google form is. Like whenever you do one of these, you're going to submit it. We're going to need like a link to it, a screenshot. We got a couple things on there. Like I said, I'll share the link. So I'm excited for you guys to kind of go after that. And I want to start making this. I want to start gamifying this more. And really, as soon as we have moved the estimated date for our white label release to the 19th. But as we roll this out, I really want to focus a lot of the training on why you should do this stuff and how you can use the stuff that you're doing to make money from the platform. So that way the platform pays for itself 10 times over, right? So I think that's a great strategy for me and my business as the owner of the SaaS platform is to like teach you guys how to get a lot of money out of the platform, right? So that's going to be my strategy. A lot of this I have to give props to our good buddy Harry. He's always giving me little tips along the way on how to make this more engaging. So Harry, I'll tell you what, for this month, I'll give you unlimited heat maps. What a deal, huh? All right, cool. So without further ado, let's bring in Mr. Gabe and let's hear about his growth hack habit strategy on good habits. Mr. Gabe, say hello.
Hello. I was trolling you. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna wait now. I'm gonna wind him up. I'm gonna turn it off. There we go. I see how you roll. I can fight back.
There you go.
What's up, everybody? No, it's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me on, Patrick. It's been cool getting to hang out with you. Like if any of you guys have seen, Patrick and Jeff and I have got to hang out a little bit now that he's here in Nashville for a bit, which is awesome. And yeah, he hit me up, was like, hey, can you hop on tonight? I finished all my calls for the day. So it was like, hey, what do you want me to share? He's like, hey, you tell me. And so literally I was kind of like racking my brain, like, what is what's the most important thing that I could share, like the most valuable thing? So I'm happy to share that. But I guess only if you guys want to hear it. This is not about like GMB stuff. This is not like about backlinking or content writing or anything like that. But I do think it is like the single most important thing that I could teach you. So if you're in the chat in the Zoom or on Facebook and you are interested, let me know. Because otherwise we could just like go on and talk about other stuff and like how to win Patric's contest and get a $500 consolation prize. You know, but dude, Adam took second and made that.
Yeah.
That's like,
Yeah.
like I don't know if any of you guys are Top Gun fans. That was like my favorite movie of all time. And they're like, oh yeah, the plaque for the alternates, you know, is in the ladies' room. Not that there's anything wrong with the ladies' room for the ladies in here.
Right. But when you're in a male dominated society like Top Gun, the ladies' room plaque is
Right?
largely unnoticed, right?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, but shoot, like I'll take the $15,000 consolation prize for
Also,
second place.
What makes it even more exciting is I think that Adam's monthly revenue prior to the contest was like $2,000. So
Crazy.
he went from 2 to 17, right? So it was like
Dang.
astronomical growth. And
He's had like major growth over the last year too.
Yeah.
So
He said, I don't want or deserve credit for this because he made the decision, but he said that contest really was it opened his eyes to what he was capable of doing and how fast he could grow. So that was awesome to hear, because that was exactly what I wanted to happen with the contest, is like let's have a competition to try to get people to push themselves, you know?
Dude, yeah, that's wild. Well, I mean, it goes back to what you guys were sharing earlier and like what Spencer was talking about in terms of like that belief switch. Sometimes it does require a little bit of that, getting that validation in the market from what it is that you're offering, what is that you're doing. Like, can I actually make this thing work? Can I get this person a result? Whatever. Can I make the sale? And then you do it. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, shoot. In fact, this is not the thing. This is a bonus, by the way. And it looks like some people are wanting to see this. Sarah said, yeah. Devin says, I guess so. All right, can we kick Devin out of the chat? He's not interested. So
Is there a way to kick him out of my life? No, I'm just kidding.
Shannon says yes.
Devin.
Awesome, cool. Yusuf. All right, so we got enough interest. So this is a bonus tip though. I don't know if are there any like stock traders in the room, or like people that are like into crypto, NFTs, stocks, anything like that? Yes, no. If you're familiar with how like stock trade, there's a whole bunch of different kind of strategies, just like there's like playing the game of poker, but there are certain stock traders that are called CMTs, or charted market technicians. There's only like 3,000 in the world. There's not that many. And they study all of like the algorithms and like the charts. They're not like Warren Buffett, who's going, oh, I'm going to invest in a company that's going to be good over the long haul. They're seeing literally how like the market is reacting to things, and they're just looking at the math of everything. It's really interesting because they have there's this idea called the reversion to the mean. So if you can imagine, you know, a stock that tends to be like trending up, it's going to have this like up and down pattern on its way up, right? But they're looking at the average over like the last 200 days. So they'll say, okay, here's the 200-day moving average. So if Tesla today is at $1,000, I know it's more than that now, but let's say it's at $1,000 today, and it was at like $100 the beginning of the month, and it was like a totally like gradual on the way up. All right, the moving average is $500. You know, it's halfway between that. So there's this idea that if you're above that, if you're above the average, so let's say you're at 750, there's going to be this like force that's pulling you back to the mean, that's pulling you back to the average. Just like if you're below it. So if it, you know, on its way up, it drops down now to like 200, it's going to like pull it up. And I think there's something really important there with our businesses, and like what, if we pay attention to like, what is our mean, what is our moving average in our business in terms of our belief factor and what we're selling, the results that we're getting. You look at, you know, Adam before that, his moving average was $2,000 a month. And then he was able to break through that with some action. He increased that average. And now I don't know, because I don't know his business, but I would assume anything, you know, sub 5 figures, sub 10K is going to be like a terrible month, because he's changed his average. So bonus tip, but be aware of like what that average is. And I think honestly, what I'm about to share, which I do think is kind of the single most important thing I could share with you guys tonight, is a way that I found to kind of guarantee the growth in my business and in myself personally, but also as a way to actually affect that average over time. And so if you're like on Facebook or whatever, like I'll give you some notes. I don't have any like slides or anything like that. So you'll want to jot down some notes. And maybe if somebody like in the Facebook group could do me a favor, and just as I kind of rattle off these different points, if you can just drop them into the chat so that people are coming back watching the replay would have those available. And when I tell you what it is, I don't want you to like don't let the like simplicity of it be like, oh no, like this is I've heard this before. There's some specific nuance, I think, to what I'm about to share that is really important. That is one of those things like Patric was talking about when Kobe's showing up and like shooting free throws nonstop. It is that like day in, day out. And I guess the last thing that I'll share kind of before I get into it and I share like what the habit actually is, and then how do you actually implement this in your life and business, would be this idea of approaching your business as a professional. And I don't know how many of you in here are still working a 9-to-5 job or come from that world, and this is like one of your first businesses versus coming in as an entrepreneur. I think it's really important to look at how you approach the game, because it is going to be a completely different strategy and approach when you're coming into a job. And I would argue that if you are in a job, which I've been both in the career world, like when I was with Strike Point, I had a job. I was the account services director, helped grow that agency from next to nothing to 25 million plus in annual revenue. Some of the biggest clients in the financial publishing industry, but like that was a job. And I was working on one thing, which was building my income. Before that, in my photography business, and then after that, in the businesses I've started since, you're not focused on building an income, you're focused on building wealth. And so I think what you were talking about earlier, Patric, and people kind of like bouncing around to all these different things, they'll try this strategy or that strategy. I wanted to ask you, I was like, hey, do you think you know why people do that? And I have a thesis on why. And I think it's taking a lot of that, hey, I'm trying to now build an income with this new thing with my business. And so when you're focused on this idea of like, I'm trying to build an income, there's almost this like requirement to get cash coming in that I can use to pay my bills and like pay myself. And I'm trying to like develop that consistency as quickly as possible, versus an entrepreneur or an investor who can see, no, like I am building wealth here. I'm building something for the long term, and I'm going to be less concerned about the swings day to day, week to week, month to month. Now, it's not to say like there certainly are the realities and the practicalities of we got to put food on the table, we got to pay the bills, all that. But I think it's super important in how you approach this, especially with what I'm about to share with you. Because if you come in with this mindset of I'm trying to build an income, I think you're going to lose. I know you're going to lose. And so I would really approach this as an investor. And it's one of the most fun things that I get to do. I know there's some people in the chat right now I'm working with personally, like on this to make this kind of a leap. But single most important, okay, no more preamble. What is it? It is the weekly plan. Imagine going into every single Monday knowing, with not like 99% confidence, but with like 100% confidence, that you are doing exactly what you need to be doing to get exactly what it is that you want. And there's some assumptions baked into that in terms of, one, well, you have to have some clarity on like what it is that you want. Like if you don't know that, okay, like system's already broken. But I talk to a lot of people who know what they want, or at least they're really clear on what they don't want. But then they tell me like, but I'm stuck. I don't necessarily know like what's most important. Like, what do I need to do now? And there certainly are things that are pressing, that come up as urgent. Like, okay, like it seems like this would be important. Patric's unveiling this awesome contest. There's all these residual benefits for me to jump in and do this contest. I know that I need to be responding to clients. I'm sending out proposals. I'm networking. I've got all these strategies. There's all these things I could be doing. So how do I actually go into Monday knowing, like I said, with 100% confidence, I'm going to be doing the things that are going to like guarantee my growth? I don't know, like if anybody would be interested in that like level of confidence. So what I want to share with you would just be basically my kind of like weekly process for doing this. Like, what are those 5 steps to do this? It's very simple. And I think if you can develop this habit, this time next year, you'll be like a world away. And I love it, especially this time of year. I think is a really good time to focus on this kind of stuff, because I don't know about you, but for me, as like coming to the end of the year, I really want to use the last 2 months of the year almost like a slingshot into the coming year. So I don't want to like slow down. I want to keep my momentum going, but also really I use it as a time to kind of like reflect and like what happened this last year. Let's look at the growth and like, let's plan for the coming year. So what do? First things first, I would carve out maybe 45 minutes to an hour, maybe on a Saturday morning. You got to know when your time energy schedules are going to make the most sense to do this. But before the week starts, it is going to be important that you plan your week, or someone else is going to plan it for you. And so make sure you have that time carved out and play with some different times as to when it's going to make the most sense. I like the idea of doing it Saturday morning, first thing, wake up at 7 o'clock, which is a little bit later for me than most of the other days of the week, but it's still early enough that like the kids and the family's not going to be off and running. I'm not eating into that family time. And by the time I finish by 8 o'clock, I now have my weekend where I can unplug, I can chill, and I can know that the next week is planned out on purpose. So first thing you're going to do, you're going to carry forward all of the commitments that you have either made to yourself or to other people. So that's the first thing. So if someone can drop that into the chat in Facebook, thing number 1, you're going to carry forward all the commitments that you've made either to yourself or to someone else. Any of the things that are on your mind. Basically, this is like the to-do list, right? But I think it's important to add that distinction of, I've made a commitment to myself. Maybe it's something in my business I said I was going to do. Maybe I don't like outwardly proclaim this thing, but I'm like, oh yeah, I need to, set up my booking calendar, or I'm going to do X number of heat maps, or I'm going to, design my ideal week, or I'm going to reach out to 10 people, like whatever those commitments are, or, hey, I want to implement profit first. And so I got to go set up these bank accounts, like whatever it might be. It's important to like name those things. And so I would literally just on a piece of paper, just start like brain dumping, listing all those things out. Really important to start there, because all of us come into the week with all of that stuff on our shoulders. And if you don't acknowledge it, what I tend to find happens for me is that I'll get into a week and I'll start reacting. And then whatever is on that list that seems kind of most urgent is the thing that I pay attention to. Not sure if that resonates at all. So first thing, carry forward all those commitments. Once you've done that, then I would have you review your goals, specifically like your annual goals. But really, I like to break down my annual goals to, hey, what are the like 2 or 3 that I'm going to be focused on each quarter, like over the next 90 days. So the second thing would be to review your goals. So now you are looking at all the commitments you're carrying into the week, and you're like putting it through this filter of what are the 2 or 3 things that I am absolutely committed to over the coming 90 days. Patric shared, like, he is committed to getting like really good at the marketing side of his business, because he knows what that is going to mean for the software as a whole, his ability to support you, the ability to grow the team and the support. We've talked personally about, the onboarding cycles and all these things. Like, Patric is really clear in regards to like what he is committed to causing in his business over the next 90 days. And I would argue this includes life too. So like life and business, because it's all the same. Like, life is life. So there might be some things. I like to have a good mix of, I'll probably have at least like one like habit goal, like, hey, what's a new habit, a new ritual, something that I want to like bake into my life. It might be like a morning routine type of thing. It could be a fitness thing. It could be how I end my work days. And then I'll have some achievement goals too, which are like, hey, these are things that I will know if I got done or not done. I'd be able to measure them by a percentage. Like I got 70% to the goal, or I got 100% to the goal, or I got 150% to the goal. But it's super important to review those. This is one of those things where I think a lot of people miss. I think a lot of people think they're good at goal setting that are not. And if, you know, maybe we'll have some like follow-up later. I don't know if you guys have any questions on goal setting and like how you're doing it, or if you're doing it right, wrong. And I mean, there's not a wrong way to do it, but there's definitely an effective way to do it. And I very rarely see people doing effective goals, but the beauty of it is it gives you this lens to then filter down to like what is most important to do. So if you don't have that piece, like you've got to get that piece in place. And really one of the best places to start is to simply like throw out everything you know about goal setting, look at the next 90 days and say, hey, what am I committed to causing in my life over the next 90 days? Like, what are the results I am committed to to causing in my life? And I would limit it to 2 or 3. Like if I could literally do nothing else, like what is the most important thing? Okay, if I could do one more thing, what would that be? Okay, if I could do one more thing, what would that be? And like, that's it. The next thing number 3, now you're going to look at that list of all the commitments you're carrying into the week. You've got the lens of your goals. Now you are going to basically pick from that list of commitments, which ones you're actually going to do. So you're going to select what are your top 3 things for the week. And again, we're going to limit this to 3, again, like for the whole entire week. So you probably have a list of like 20 or 30 things. Where I see most people getting this wrong, and what your urge is going to be, just like my urge is going to be, is like, hey, I'm going to set my top 3 priorities. And then I'm also going to carry in all these other things that I also need to get done this week. If you do that, again, you're going to stub your toe. You're going to break your leg. You're going to crash and burn, whatever the metaphor you want to use here. You're going to fall in your soup. All those things are going to happen. This is going to be terrible. So again, looking at these are now, we're breaking down the quarterly goals into these like commitments and breaking them down into a week. I share this with my clients, this idea of like the Russian dolls, you know, the Russian dolls that you can kind of like unpack. You can take like one out of another, out of another, out of another. And if you look at ultimately like the kind of life you want to live, like I'm a believer that the reason why we build a business is to serve our life, not the other way around. I love to work. I love my business. I love to spend time and energy in my business, but my business ought to serve my life. I should not be a slave to my business. So that like life plan is really like the biggest Russian doll. I open that up and I go, okay, well, what would my business need to look like to make sure to make it inevitable that I would have that kind of a life? Okay, unpack that. All right, like what are the things that need to happen over the next 12 months to make it inevitable for me to have the business that's going to serve that life? Okay, let me unpack that. Like what are the results that I have to be committed to over the next 60 to 90 days that would make it inevitable for me to hit my goals over the next year, which would create the business that I need to create to have the life I want to. I feel like this is a children's book. It's like one of those, like, I have one that I read to my kids. It's like something about a giraffe and a half. It's like a Shel Silverstein book. Maybe I'll have to, too bad. I think he's gone. Rest in peace. Otherwise this would be good. But I think you get that idea. And now what we're trying to do is we're trying to break down this like big thing down to like, what am I going to do on Tuesday? Right. And like, that's why this is like so important. So you're going to choose what you're going to do. And it's important now to look at it through the lens of, okay, I've like committed to these 3 results over the next 90 days. So of all of the commitments, what are the like the three things that I am like absolutely committed to at the cost of the other things. So I was talking with a friend about this earlier today. We were actually talking about this in the idea of parenting. So I don't know how many of you are parents or have been children of parents at some point. I would assume that that is like 100% of us here, but there's like these competing outcomes, results, emotions, whatever you would want to call them. There's like love and obedience, right? Like, or maybe love and control, which I want my children to obey me and do what I'm going to say. And I want to be able to control them sometimes so that like we can have peace and order in our household. And sometimes they just want to like buck that system. They don't want to be controlled. And I can resort to this idea of like, okay, what is more important, love or control? Do I want them to obey me and I can control them? Or am I willing to love them first and let the control take a back seat and just live in the chaos a little bit, which is kind of hard for me to do. But I have a choice to make. Just like you have a choice in your business, there's all these commitments you've made to yourself and to other people that you're carrying into your week. And you can make a choice that like, I'm going to choose this one potentially at the expense of this other thing, which I'm agreeing is also important, but is not as important as this one. Does that make sense? That makes sense.
Yeah.
I might see some nodding. I'm seeing a little bit of nodding here. Hopefully I'm seeing some nodding on Facebook. Yeah. So I think this is like, the reason I'm belaboring this is it cannot be overemphasized because again, so many people, they either fall off course because they're not clear of where they're going, or they say they have a certain number of priorities, but really in actuality, they're like, these are all important. I have 37 priorities, in which case you have none. So thing number 3, choose which ones you're going to do. Then it's really important to, number 4, acknowledge the amount of time it's going to take to get all of those outcomes done, those 3 outcomes. And those could be in different parts. It could be something like, hey, this week I want to launch my new authority reporter site. And it's going to, that could be multiple steps. That could be like, hey, I have some interviews that I need to transcribe and turn into articles. I need to do some web design. It could be like, I'm going to set up the Facebook page or add some things. I'm going to do some graphics, whatever. It could be a bunch of different things, but you need to, number 4, acknowledge the amount of time it's going to take for those results. And then if you need to break some of those things up into like a B, C. So like this is, outcome number 1, 1A, 1B, 1C. Because, and we all tend to not be really good at guessing these kind of things. You will get better with it over time as you do more of this. But then number 5, you're simply going to allocate that across the week. So you're going to plan every single day across your week, and you're going to look and you're going, okay, like for me, okay, Wednesdays, I got a bunch of calls. I'm probably not going to be able to do anything else on that day. There's just not any buffer, but like, okay, yeah, Tuesday looks pretty good. And I know I usually have the most energy between like 10 and 2. And so I'm going to like block that time out so that on, Monday when I get hit up like, hey, like, can you hop on a call tomorrow? I'm going to honor the time that I set out in advance. I'm saying, no, like I can chat, if I've got time, after 2 on Monday, or maybe it's later in the week, whatever, but I'm really going to hold pretty hard and fast to that plan that I set out at the beginning of the week. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you have that confidence going into the week that your plan is aligned with your vision, which is basically means, hey, I'm like super confident in my goals. These are the results I've committed to. And it's not like in a wishy-washy kind of way. And I've done the work to understand what are the top 3 most important things I could do this week at the expense of everything else. And if you can do this over time, like you're going to get better at it. And you will see like monumental progress and growth in your life. So quick recap. Thing number one, carry forward all your commitments from the previous week that you made to yourself and others. Thing number two, review your goals, your annual goals, but really more specifically, like what are the results you're committed to over the next 90 days? Thing number three, choose which one of those you're going to do, like use that as your lens to kind of choose what you're going to do. Number four, acknowledge like, hey, how much time is it going to take to do each one of those? And then literally number five, just kind of spread that out across the week, create your game plan for your week. Or I would call it your growth map, like what's your map for the week. And then simply like respect and honor that. There's a lot more that goes into this, but hopefully that's helpful and it kind of gives you a frame. I know there's probably a lot of you in here who have some kind of process like that. I'd be curious, Patric, how, because I know for me, like there's been times where I've kind of like gone in and out of flow using a process like this. And I've studied like every productivity system under man. And of everything, like this has been probably the most impactful thing for me to feel like, hey, I'm in control of my time. I'm in control of my calendar. I'm being a leader with my time. I'm being a leader with my business, with my family, all that. I'm curious for you, and you didn't know what I was gonna be sharing, but like how, have you used anything like this before?
Yeah, this
have
is
you
almost
noticed
the exact
differences?
process that I'm doing is,
Yeah.
I've actually, I think it's right here. I've got a book here that I do my my weekly planning on. So I've got things laid out with my goals. And then I break it down just like Gabe was saying, where I have like, I made a long list and I'm actually getting my team to be doing the same thing, right? Where I want everyone to be like really structured and planned with and intentional with this, because I don't think you know this, Gabe, but on I think it was October 3rd or something like that, we launched our 90-day accountability groups, where I was like, hey, I want you guys to write down your 3 to 5 goals for the next 90 days, work backwards. But this is actually taking it to a whole nother level. And I feel the same. Like I've been a little bit of a gunslinger in my business, my 2 businesses here, where I'm just kind of like going and I'm doing the different things that I think I should be doing. And to take all this stuff and write it all down, just kind of like this brain dump, takes so much stress and pressure off you, because there's all these different things that you think you need to do. And you don't know, like you think of them and they're not anywhere. So there's like this monkey on your back every time you think of it, where it's just like, oh, I didn't do that. But just taking some time and just like planning things out takes so much stress and pressure off you. And once you have a plan, then it's just a question of executing the plan. It's just so like, it makes a ton of sense that, like, I gave this example. We talked a little bit about what you're talking about now a couple of weeks ago. The pilot never takes off with like, hey, we don't know where we're going. Like we're going to get there. Like we don't have like a plan of, like, that's not how things work. And for, most successful people, they've gotten there because they've taken very intentional steps, and taking some time to understand where your targets are, coming up with a plan to get them, and then just executing on that. It's just common sense once you start doing it. And I think a lot of people don't, like, we get pulled and we don't understand how our lack of discipline is a lead weight on our foot. And just taking this time and having the discipline to spend a little bit of time. I like doing it on Sundays. I spend on Saturdays. It's kind of like a review day for me, where I'm going to review like how successful I was with the thing. How successful was I this week with my physical fitness and my learning and like my financial goals? And if you have any kind of like spiritual goals, what are some highlights of the weeks? What are some things that didn't go as I planned or as I wanted? What's like a quote? Let's be like, I read a really good quote this week, and it was that you don't learn from experience, you learn from the reflection of experience, right? So if you think about that, like if you force that reflection, then you're going to learn faster, essentially. So if you can just like
Yeah.
have the discipline to make some habits, let's like a lot of us, we're different ages, we've had different like backgrounds and success, but sometimes we got to put the big boy pants on and just say, hey, I'm going to be like ironclad discipline on this, where like planning out my schedule and executing that. You look at the difference between someone who's got like $1 and $1 billion and you compare their habits, like it's all about habits, right? The reason that Tom Brady is arguably the best NFL quarterback person in history is not because he has this like phenomenal talent advantage. Like if any of you guys watch, he was drafted 199th, barely played in college, but he works harder than everyone else. Like if you watch his like combine video, it looks like they pulled somebody out of the bleachers and is running around out there on the field. Little do they know, this is like, hey, this is the best person that's ever played the sport. He has very little athletic talent relative to the people that he's competing against, but the planning and preparation and the execution for him is just so dialed in. And if that tells you anything, like you're not competing against all these other people in the NFL, you're competing against people who don't know what to do. So if you can just do this thing that Gabe's saying, I personally believe this is a great thing to share. I think it's something that I've been like, that gunslinger mentality has cost me, who know how much, but making this shift and then looking back has been, I'm like kicking myself that I didn't do this sooner, you know?
And I would argue, like with the Tom Brady thing, I would argue that Tom Brady is not like one of the most winningest, successful quarterbacks of all time because of like the practice and what he puts in. I would actually say he puts in the practice and does that work because he is a winning Super Bowl, like the best quarterback of all time. And like the distinction there is super important, where again, there's such nuance to these steps and how you come into a process like this, where if any of you are to look into your business right now and go, okay, like, what am I committed to over the next 6 months, over the next 12 months of my business? And like, who do I need to become? Like, what kind of leader would I need to be? I'm working with a client on this right now who realizes that like she's the bottleneck for her business, had a team, didn't have a team, and now is realizing like, hey, I'm going to have to build a team. I have to get results through other people. If I have a couple of another one in the wedding industry, same thing, where it's like, hey, I need to be able to drive the results in my business through other people. And I can't just be the only one doing it. Otherwise, like there's this bottleneck of like, I can only bring on so many clients unless and to have the kind of impact and the size of business that I need, I'm going to need a team. What does that mean for who I need to become? Well, I need to become the kind of leader that could train and equip people and also realize that like, hey, they're probably not going to do it the way that I would do it. So how do I become the kind of leader that can like lead them well, but also realize they're not going to be me? Like that's a whole different approach than I'm just going to do more of what I'm doing now that's working and I'm going to do it 10 times over to get, the 10x result. And so someone like Tom Brady goes into this game. He's like, well, yeah, of course I practice the way I practice because I am like I'm the best quarterback of all time. And so we kind of have to take that approach in our business of like forecasting, like, where do we want to go? Who do we want? And what does that mean for who we need to become? And like, how do I start doing that today? Because I can tell you, like Patrick's saying, if you want the kind of business that you want, chances are you are the kind of person that plans your weeks on purpose with intention. You're the kind of person who is really clear on what you're building and what you're going to, but you're also living in the reality of like the fires and stuff you have to put out today. In fact, I do want to, and if anyone has any questions, we can take them, but I want to touch on what like Harry mentioned in the chat, like, hey, this is really close to what I've been using, but my biggest problem is that the tasks in lead gen are new to me and I have no idea how long some of them will take. And that unexpected tech breakdowns or other issues arise, which are just totally destroy my planning. So this is one of those areas where I would say, okay, like Patrick said, reflection is super important. As you start to implement a process like this, or you're like, okay, here's the person I need to become, here's the entrepreneur I need to become, here's the leader I need to become, here's what I can actually do here's what that kind of a person would do. They would do this kind of like weekly process. Start noticing like what's getting in the way. So for Patrick, it might be doing this on Sunday mornings because Saturday is like a reflection day. Like Raphael says, hey, Saturday is great because he's been trying to do it on Sundays and it doesn't work. Like for me, I ran into the same issue with Raphael. Like Sunday didn't work for me because it's like now the whole weekend I'm thinking about planning my next week. I'm not present with the family. We end up, doing things later on Sundays. And so maybe I don't have the time and energy, whatever, but like Saturday morning, I can do it. Right. So you have to like implement this process and start to notice what's getting in the way. And if the things that are getting in the way are, you're realizing that like, okay, well, I make this plan, but then the second the week starts, like Mike Tyson says, I'm getting punched in the face. And so like, now what are you going to do about it?
I would say, Gabe, that, it's a practice, right? So I have done this off and on over the last few years and getting back into it now. And every time I start to do it again, I'm like, well, why did I stop doing this? Right. But it's never been something that's like, oh, this is absolutely perfect. And it always works out, right? It's a practice. Even like Patrick said, once you kind of do that brain dump onto the paper, I mean, it just releases or frees up so much like psychic capacity that, you have all this stuff swirling around in your head. You put it on paper. This is what I did a couple of weeks ago when we started diving into this. And it's just like, that's it? You mean that's all? Like,
yeah,
it seemed so overwhelming before that, So even if I don't execute the daily task perfectly, or I was out of town over the weekend, so I didn't get this week teed up right. Okay, cool. Like, let's pick up where we are and just keep moving forward. Overall, it's going to be a benefit, even if you're not doing it, all perfect.
100%. And
I think it's also Harry with your stuff there. We all have that. When you set up your week, you need to put some buffer time in there. So if you think that like, hey, it's going to take me 2 hours to do this, so I'm going to schedule that on Monday between 8 and 10 a.m. I think it's important to maybe don't have anything until 11:30 or something, right? So you have kind of that buffer, and then it's okay to time things and like write down, maybe you do some daily journaling, like, hey, I ran into this issue. Let's improve the process of estimating things for the future as we go through this, and don't beat yourself up if like, hey, this doesn't go as well. What you're going to notice is that you get better and better with this over time, right? So I think that's super important to just like, it's like, this didn't work out as I wanted. Okay, like that's version 1. This is good. Like, we've got a lot of opportunity to improve on this, and let's not just like be so frustrated that we throw this out the window and say, hey, this doesn't work. Another important part of this, I think, is something that I've noticed is like context switching. Like, hey, when you lay out your schedule for your week, when you're going to do the things, like maybe I've got to get backlinks for these like 5 sites. So what I'm not going to do is I'm going to say Monday, I'm going to get backlinks for this site. Tuesday is going to be this site. Wednesday, this site. Third, because then you're switching. And now like maybe I've got content. So now we go from backlinks to contents. What I would say to do instead is like Monday, do all your backlinks. So you get in that mindset. It takes you waste time every time you're going to switch tasks. There's like, this when you first start, like stuff starts a little bit slow and then you kind of get into this flow state, like capitalize on that and plan for that. And Harry, when you don't have clarity on what you're actually doing, this is where this like tech breakdowns and stuff like this, once you've done it 1,000 times, that goes away. And there's something to be said. I know that that it's just like the reps and getting some cycles in there. Maybe journal what you do or screen record it and just like talk to yourself. So now you've got like, hey, maybe you go and you figure it out once. Now, as soon as you figure it out and you've like kind of fumbled around for a little while, make yourself a quick little video. And then the next time you do it, you're building like maybe you got like a spreadsheet with links to these different videos that you have in Google Drive that like, okay, I figured this out before. Let me just go and look at my little system here. Okay, this is exactly how it is. Now I know this is going to take me 7 minutes to complete this. You've got to not just think about the problem, think about how you're solving problems so that you can approach this from a
Mhm.
lot like a strategic problem solving rather than just like being in the weeds and not like kind of zooming out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd say like you notice what's getting in the way and what's coming up, and especially the reactive kind of stuff. Then the next week you plan for it. You know, I would argue if you're doing less than 300 grand a year in revenue, you're like 80% of your time should be focused on client acquisition. I know a lot of us are interested in the rank and rent model. You might be building lead gen sites to wait and sell later. So you have this big focus on the build out side, but yeah, I would encourage you to get into that side. So if that's the case, that means you might have some big goals that you need to tackle to build your business, but really there's this kind of underlying pressure and need to be doing revenue generating activities every single day. So it's like, okay, well, like maybe you've blocked out the first couple hours of each day to do those revenue generating activities, to follow up with leads and prospects and be able to respond to people that you've started conversations with, right? Versus like if you're in the 7-figure plus agency and you've got, like Jeff and Patric do, you have all these client work. Like when you have that many clients, there's always going to be some kind of fire. There's going to be something that you're having to do or handle or put out. And so having time blocked out. So it's like, all right, if for me, I know 10 to 2 is like prime creative production. Like I'm going to have like my best for like new stuff. Like 2 to 4 is going to be better for me on the, like all of the, like put out the fires, like wrap everything up, do any of the tedious stuff. Okay. Like I might block out some time, a couple days a week. Like, all right, 2 to 4 is my, that's my time where I'm allowed to be reactive, and everything's just going to stack up during those times. Now, of course, there are going to be things that pop up here and there where it's like, oh no, I got to jump on this now. But I would really challenge that. Like if I were in your shoes and I see something that comes through and I'm like, I had told myself, hey self, I am going to give this time block to this big important thing this week because I'm committed to these results in the long run. This wrench just got thrown in the works. Am I willing to like sacrifice my what I'm ultimately committed to for this thing? Like, is it that important that I need to do this right now? Or can it wait until that time that I had blocked out to be able to do that thing?
Right. Gabe, and to that end, you guys, I don't know if you guys have ever been away from your phone for like 2 hours and then you've just discovered the whole world's on fire, because that seems to be all the reason why we have to be connected all the time. But you can prevent the wrenches from getting thrown in your face by turn the volume on your phone, put it upside down and put it in the other room, close all your Facebook tabs, close your email, and just focus on what you're actually trying to do, right? Because probably that's not going to happen right now. Hey, if that happens and you miss it, like that's,
So Patric,
I'm not giving you legal advice here.
I personally have experience in this because since 2 weeks, I'm only watching on my smartphone during the weekends. So during the week, I'm not even able to look on my smartphone, and my focus and energy and productivity has increased dramatically because I was getting 15 people texting me every day, and it's so distracting, but also addicting. I read the book Digital Minimalism after deep work, and like I live a much deeper and much more focused life because of it. So I can definitely confirm that.
Awesome. Yeah. Cal Newport, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great book. I mentioned that in the past to you guys, not the digital minimalism, the deep work, where it's meant a lot to me to turn some of this stuff off, and like got all these different, in the digital age, we've got all these different ways, our team, we work with Slack a lot of times. So a lot of times I'm like closing that and, hey, I'm just not going to respond for a little while. I'm going to focus on this stuff. So kind of the premise of this book, if you guys don't remember from the past, is like that there's never been more distractions in kind of the history of the world, with like all the different ways that we can get pulled in. The people that are making great money, the skill set a lot of these people are doing has now shifted to like, informational technology work, right? And when you shift into something that is like intellectual like this, the value of being able to get into a deep focus state is higher. So you basically have this like counterbalance thing where we've got more distractions than ever, and there's never been more value to like having like focused work. So you need to shut this thing down so that you can get into that like flow state, that deep like mental focus. And the advantage, because most people aren't doing this, has never been greater because of those factors that we've laid out. So Cal Newport, deep work. And I know you had mentioned to me, you sent me a message, and I actually have that on my reading list, digital minimalism. So awesome recommendations. I know like Cal Newport's work, and I can't imagine you could go wrong by reading. I haven't read it, but you know, based on what you just said, like it makes a lot of sense. If that's something you're struggling with, like you guys need to have enough self-assessment to be able to look and find out where you have issues. And it may be not what you want to do. Like, hey, I enjoy playing on Facebook, and that's cool. To just understand that it comes at the cost of like your business won't be as successful, or like you're just not going to move the needle. So you have to decide what's most important, and then be disciplined enough to make the choice to move things in the direction that you want to go. Right. So I've said your name in my head a bunch of times, but I've never heard you say, is it Bryan? You're muted.
Yes, it's Bryan.
Bryan from the Netherlands.
From
right?
the Netherlands.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. Is it at what time is it there? Is it like 3 a.m?
It's 2 a.m.
2 a.m? So this is also what happens when you don't have your phone. You don't know what time it is, and then you end up at webinars at 2 a.m, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here though. It's good. I know I appreciate you kind of staying up to join us on these calls. I know that you normally watch the replays, right? But this is awesome to have you here in real time.
And I've been working late hours the last days, you know, getting lost in time working on my Eugene review right now. So
awesome, man.
It's been a grind.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. And I know we were kind of like chatting back and forth on like you can have some negative influences in your life. And I'll tell you, man, I don't know if you know this. I played poker for a living for 10 years, and I came from a small town in Ohio where people don't do that. I got a degree in accounting, and I don't know how many people told me that I couldn't do this. And okay, we ended up like prior to all this stuff, prior to being a software engineer, we had 4 houses that we got while I was playing poker for a living. And like all these people that told me I couldn't do it. Right. And I just want to say, like, these people opinions on you or anyone else on this call or watching this, like, that doesn't mean shit. That what matters is what you think and what you believe. The person who says I can do this and the person who says I can't, they're both right. So it's really a decision. So I use that kind of energy as fire. And like when someone tells me, I'm just like, okay, like maybe I wouldn't have been a professional poker player all that time had all these people told me I couldn't do it, because that lit a fire under me where I was like, well, that sounds like a challenge, right? So we'll see how this will work out. So I hope you can take this negative energy, if that exists in your life, I know it does in your life or anyone else's, and channel that towards like, use that as firewood and let that kind of power you, you know? All right, cool, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Gabe, you got more? Gabe, you still?
I told you, dude, that's the best I got. So like, hopefully it was good.
So,
I don't know. I hope you guys liked it.
The future of Gabe, as I said, it's all downhill from now unless you learn some new tricks.
Oh.
All right. I hope you guys like this. I hope you guys got some stuff out of this. Gabe, I really appreciate you jumping on. I understand the value of what you presented. And, you know, if you believe in me, if you believe in Gabe, I would say take the chance, put this in place, try it for, they say it takes like 21 days or 30 days or something to make a habit. Just take that one time and see if you feel like you're more productive, especially if you combine it with like what Bryan said about like put yourself in a box, shut some of these distractions off, set aside your time. You can set your time up to like, hey, this is when I'm going to catch up on social media and email or whatever this other stuff is. Put that block in there so that you don't have to worry about it while this other stuff. And it's going to be tough at first to like step away, but it's going to get easier. A lot of us, we didn't grow up with cell phones, and we were able to survive. And it actually feels really healthy to take a break from that stuff and kind of clear yourself out a little bit. All right, Raphael, I know that you had questions on the software. Please reach out to me. I sent you a message. I don't know if you saw it, but let me know your questions. I'm happy to answer any of those for you guys. All right, guys, 7 days to do the work that you need to do to create some wins for next week. The contest is starting. I'd love to see who's going to win it. I think it would be interesting for me to write down my opinions and not share them and see how those turn out, because I've seen some of you guys show up and other you guys, like, I think you're capable of a lot more than what you're showing. And that's what this contest is about. Let's see who's going to do it. Who is going to push themselves. We got money on the line here, but like I said, the money that you'll get from participating in this it's designed to create money for your business, not the cash from this prize, because that's nothing. Like Adam McChesney got $15,000 in new recurring revenue for his business. So let's do that.
And bragging rights for a year.
And bragging rights. Yeah, he was actually second, right? So, okay, all right, guys. The contest form, Harry, I'm going to put it into the description of this video after this video. All right, you guys have an awesome week. I appreciate you guys. Everybody stay healthy, crush it this week. Let's make some wins. Thanks again, Gabe. Appreciate you, man.
You too.
All
See you guys.
Take care of my people. Bye.